Hello everyone. So today let us discuss how many canals will be present in each of the tooth. Coming to both maxilla and mandible, it's very easy to remember your anteriors. All the centrals, laterals and canines will most probably have single canal, otherwise they might have two canals. That's very simple. That's common for both maxillary and the mandibular anteriors. All the anteriors, irrespective of the arch, will have a single canal in most of the cases, or in some cases will have two canals. So how do you differentiate whether it will have a single canal or whether it will have a two canals? So in those cases, for you to confirm, you can look at the cingulum. If your cingulum is very much pronounced, then most of the times it will have two canals. If your cingulum is in a normal form, then it will have single canal in most of the cases. But if the cingulum is very much pronounced, then always suspect for the second canal. Next comes your premolars. In your premolars, both the uppers and the lowers again can have a single canal or two canals or three canals. But what's the catch on this? What's the difference between the upper and the lower premolars is that in the upper premolars, most of the cases will have two canals. But in the lower premolars, most of the cases will have single canal. Okay, that's the basic difference between upper and the lower premolars. So that's the most common case. There will be two canals in the uppers and one canal in the lower premolar. But the anatomical variations can be a single canal present in the uppers or three canals present in the uppers. And the same way, two canals present in the lowers or three canals present in the lowers. But the very commonly seen are two in the upper, one in the lower. But there's one thing you always have to remember about the lower first premolars. In the lower first premolars, even though there is a single canal, that might get bifurcated into two canals at the apical region. That's a very common finding with the lower first premolar, which is why we call it as an enigma of endodontists. So always remember, even though there is single canal present in the lower first premolar, there can be a chance of that canal getting split at the apical thirds. It's called the enigma of endodontists because that split happens at the apical third, not in the coronal or not in the middle third, but in the apical third, where it's very hard to manage that split canal. So that's why it's called an enigma of endodontists. So always keep a note of this finding in the lower first premolar. Now coming to molars, both your upper and the lower first molars will commonly have 3 to 4 canals, either 3 or 4 canals. That's a very common variant. If it's 3 canals, in case of your uppers, it will be mesiobuccal, distobuccal and the palatal canals. In the lower molars, if it's 3 canals, it will be mesiobuccal, mesiolingual and the distal canals. If they are 4 in upper, they will be mesiobuccal 1, mesiobuccal 2, distobuccal and palatal canals. While in mandible, it will be mesiobuccal, mesiolingual, distobuccal and distolingual. If in some cases there might also be 5 canals in your upper molar, when it is 5 canals, it will be mesiobuccal 1, mesiobuccal 2, distobuccal 1, distobuccal 2 and the palatal canals. And then if there are 5 cases, 5 canals in case of a lower molar, it will be mesiobuccal, mesiolingual, distobuccal, distolingual and the additional canal will be the mid-mesial. And in very rare cases there can also be mid-distal canal which is 6 canal variant, but that's very rare. And also there is another rare format in case of the lowers which is only 2 canals present. In those cases it will be one mesial canal and one distal canal which has less than 1% of an incidence. So all of these are the variants in case of your lower first molars. Now coming to the second molars. In second molars again, your uppers will most commonly have 3 canals. There will be mesiobuccal, distobuccal and the palatal. or in some cases there might only be two canals, which will be your buccal canal and the palatal canal, or in some cases there might also be four canals, which will be your mesiobuccal 1, mesiobuccal 2, distobuccal and the palatal canals. But in case of your lower second molars, the most common forms again are three or four canals, which will be mesiobuccal, mesiolingual, distobuccal, distolingual, or the single distal canal. Or another commonly seen variant is with just two canals, which is your mesial canal and the distal canals. But again, not very commonly seen, but it's not even very rare also. That is the variation of a single canal in a lower 7. This single canal variation can also be seen in the lower 7s and need not be surprised about that variation. Now, as discussed earlier, whenever we speak about the access cavity forms in case of uppers, we always speak in terms of buccolingual width, but in case of the lowers, we speak in terms of the mesiodistal width, right? So exactly happens with the configurations of these also. In your upper and lower molars, there is something called as the canal configurations, which will help you in identifying the number of canals. Each configuration will have a set of canals that will be present. In case your upper molar has three canals, then it will be in Y configuration, where you'll have this configuration, Y configuration. Whereas if it has four canals, it will be in K configuration. If it has only two canals, then it will be in I configuration. So these are the configurations in your upper molars through which you can identify the number of canals. So these configurations are what? These lines which are being drawn in between these orifices are what are called as the dentinal maps, which will look darker inside the tooth. Now the same configurations for the mandible will be like, if it is three canals, it will again be Y configuration. If it's two canals, it will be I configuration. And if it's four canals, it will be H configuration. So to sum it up, the configurations of the molars in case of uppers will be I, Y and K. In your lowers, it will be again I, Y and H. These are the configurations that you have to keep in mind so that you will not miss any of the canals. Do like, share and subscribe, and thank you for your support.